How do you feel about starting this off?
Yeah.
Because I guess I would want to ask the question, um, what is the day to day like for people? Like what was in your upbringing? What did you watch your parents do? How did it you and how did it influence you? And what has it done? What is it? How has it benefited you to this day? As far in the aspect of just your day to day.
Mm-hmm. Now, is this question for everybody or?
Yeah, definitely for everybody. And I
Okay.
mean, we can keep it short and sweet because I know, it's that can be a very open-ended question, you know,
It is,
but
yes. Mm-hmm.
but we can keep it short. We can keep it down to a certain amount of time to give everyone a chance to like really, you know, put their thought out there.
It's an important question because, I mean, just it's a very clear reason why you're asking that question is because everything that we see, even if we're not taught physically to say, okay, this is what you're supposed to do and this is how life is supposed to be, what we see as children growing up can influence what we do in our life and what we make a priority, what we feel is important. So if we saw our mother, you know, busting her behind every day, doing everything, not placing herself as a priority, and more than likely, if she was like that, she probably didn't teach us to make ourselves a priority either. So she might have made us a priority, but she probably didn't teach us to make ourselves a priority. So
Right.
if that's what we observed, then more than likely we're going to enter into, the older parts of our lives where we start to have relationships, you end up having children or get, working or whatever. And we enter into our lives, that part of our lives, running that program that we are not a priority. That was my program. So,
Right.
you know,
And I think that we pretty much share that same priority in a sense where it's easy and almost, I want to say, noble for you to forget yourself.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And I think a lot of people are running around on a hamster wheel right now. No pun intended, side. A lot of people are running around on the hamster wheel, and they are forgetting themselves. And sadly enough, when you start to put yourself as a priority and say, "I'm going to take care of me," a lot of people look at it as a selfish behavior, and because they've been taught uh, that to put yourself as a priority is just selfish behavior. And
mm-hmm.
people tend to put a negative connotation behind that word selfish, not understanding that there's a balance to that. If you're selfish in the sense that you have an abundance of something, we'll use food as an example. You have an abundance of food, and you're not going to finish all this food, and there's someone there sitting there beside you, and you can hear their belly rumbling. The negative condensation of that selfishness is, I want my food, all of my food, and even if I don't finish my food, don't touch my food.
Right.
Um, the flip side to that same the flip side of that same coin is you bought just enough food for yourself. You might have said to this person, "Hey, you know, would you like anything where, and they say no. Your thought process is they're not hungry. And what I bought
Mm-hmm.
for me is going to fulfill me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's maybe just enough for you to say, when you see it, you're gonna finish every drop of it because you need it.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's the person saying, "Oh, well, why didn't you offer me any food? Because it looks good to do." And it's like, no, I asked you. You said no.
Mm-hmm.
I need this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, people will look at a situation like that and say to themselves, oh, well, because of the perception of it, it looks as though this person is being negatively selfish to this person, to the other person who might have asked them for food because it looked good to see if they were going to give you that food.
Mm-hmm.
And saying no in the moment and saying, I need this for me. They will never look at the flip side of saying, like, hey, that person actually wanted and needed all of what they got.
I want to add something to that because it actually touches upon one of my points. Mm-hmm. Is one, and it was a Jan Van Zandt that used this word, and I actually like it because when you're talking about attention towards self that cultivates your own sense of love, energy, creativity, she called it self-full. Self-full, and I like that word. And another point that I feel needs to be addressed as well is the importance of boundaries. Where are you drawing the line with what you're giving and what you allow yourself to receive? So, it's important to, because as being the archetype of the giver, I think we're both givers. And I think a lot of people that will be watching will probably be givers as well.
Absolutely.
There needs to be a boundary in terms of how much of yourself you're going to give, because that in and of itself can contribute to what we're talking about, the topic of the conversation, which is exhaustion. Because people see exhaustion as just being, and it's still relevant, exhaustion as being going here, going there, going everywhere, and spreading yourself too thin with physical action, and then getting to the point where you have no energy left. But if you're someone who is constantly giving to the point where you don't have anything left for yourself, you're going to get exhausted. It doesn't matter if you're physically moving or not. If you're the giver, absolutely, you will drain yourself.
Now, I smile because these are our conversations. Welcome, everyone. My name is Daniel Rose.
Oh, yeah. We forgot the introduction. There we go.
No, because I want to say that was the intro. I needed people to see how we conduct ourselves, what our conversations are like, how important they are, and how they fulfill me and how they fulfill you, just as family. My name is Daniel Rose, 38 years of age, wife, 2 beautiful children, and I am here now and elated, excited. I almost got butterflies in my stomach, man, from like just having this platform and being able to talk about these thought-provoking things with someone who is, man, I would say she transcends her generation. She transcends. Her thought fills me. Whenever I'm able to have a conversation with I'm not even going to call her my little sister, with my sister, she fills me and she sends me back out into this world with a new mindset. And this is just something that I want older people to see, especially older people, where yes, we have experience and there are things that we deal with in our lifetime. And then, we see younger people and how they move and how they conduct themselves. And we only get mad and we don't see the positives to it. This is a prime example of someone who is younger than me that can teach me. And she has been doing that for a very long time. And I think that the reason why I said, hey, you know what? Yeah, let's do this, is I needed the masses to see this. So, Sai, thank you for this platform. And let's get it going.
Yes, everyone, thank you for joining us today that are going to be either watching live or on the replay. My name's Saida. I guess I would just call myself a human being, just having a life altering, life fulfilling experience. I don't even really know what to call myself anymore because I feel like the labels don't always fit everything that I'm doing. But basically, my motivation is to help people expand their perspective of themselves and seeing themselves as an expression of the divine. And because that you are an expression of the divine, you not only do you deserve the best of love and abundance and creativity, everything that you desire, you are. And this is what I am trying to put out there in the world. Now, with my brother, it's I'm blessed to have him as my brother because it's so nice to see that we're on the same page, we have the same thoughts, and we resonate on a lot of different levels with the way that we approach life and the way that we see life. And my brother is a prime example that you do not have to be the president of the United States to make a difference.
Absolutely.
Okay. You can make a difference by how you raise your family. You can make a difference by doing what we're doing today, spreading awareness about these issues. And I thought, especially after our first conversation, I thought it was really important for us to do this, not only so we could talk about this together, but you have a lot to say. And I don't feel like you say enough of it outwardly. It's stuff that you reflect on, it's stuff that's in there, but not enough people hear it. And if you have that wisdom, it needs to be shared. That's in your soul's blueprint. Is you are a revolutionary, and it's not something that causes great amounts of chaos to the world. And sometimes that's needed, but you do that in the way that you carry yourself and you hold yourself and what you say, because it comes from a deep soul filled place. So
thank you so much for that. And I think in a sense of that, where we talk about mental health, me, I am in a space, and I just want to give this the shout out to my brothers over at Blackman Heal. I definitely want to acknowledge them for giving me the tools that I need to be an asset within a space like this. When we talk about mental health, and I'm glad that it's become a space that is something that is becoming more trendy, more popular. Vulnerability, openness, reteaching, and I guess you want to call it reprogramming in a sense, but I know the word programming can be a negative word to most or some. Reteaching, being able to be in a space where, and that's my son and my daughter that you're hearing in the background. For anyone who is wondering, yes, that is my son and my daughter that you're hearing in the background. For anyone who, for me, I'll use myself as an example. And being transparent about my life and the way that things go and things like that, this conversation is a prime example of understanding that I was doing too much, understanding that I was spreading myself way too thin, understanding that I didn't think much of myself because I wasn't taught to think much of myself. I was taught to think of others. And I always moved in the selfless space of doing for others. Now, people will think that it is extremely selfish, or I guess in a sense, bad parenting, bad husbanding, or whatever you want to call it, for you to prioritize yourself. There's ways to do that and still be an immense asset to your family, an immense asset to your community, an immense asset to even your job. But that all lies in whether you are able to strategically know when to listen to your body and when to listen to your mind and when to say, hey, you know what? I've done a lot and my body is begging for rest, begging. We go out into the world and we allow society to tell us you will sleep when you're dead. And I'm glad that I just want to put it out there. The title doesn't come from me, but it's something that I've been talking about for a very long time. How dangerous those words are. I will sleep when I'm dead. You disrespect your body, you disrespect your mind, you disrespect your spirit when you think that something that is super important, an extremely important component of all of those different constructs, that you will just leave that out of your life based on materialistic thought process. I think I definitely want to chop this. I want to chop this fable with you. I want to chop this fable with you because it's very, very important for people to know that there are misconceptions being put out there that some will internalize because it's done with glit and glamour. It's done with with you seeing people making millions of dollars, or you seeing people driving the best cars and living in the biggest houses. And what people do not understand is that either some of those people are half dead or they've lied to you. They knew exactly when to rest. They knew exactly when to put themselves down and pick themselves up. They listened to their bodies. They listened, but it sounds cute when you hear it. So let's chop this fable. Let's chop it up. Let's give us some. Let's get some thoughts in.
So it's it's such an important point that you make of listening to your body, because in our society, as I said in the preface to or in the introduction to the event that we had when I posted the poster for this, is that we live in a society where people have a tendency to dehumanize people. And people have been convinced that they were made or they were put on this earth to simply survive.
Right.
To make money, to be able to pay for a place to live. Oh, there's Jai.
Here we go.
So we'll wait for him
All
to come
right.
in before we.
So until he comes in, we'll continue.
Okay. So people have been convinced that they have been placed on this planet to have a job that has you making money to simply make ends meet, and to simply be able to do the bare minimum, or if it's not the bare minimum, to acquire physical wealth, when we have forgotten the fact that that physical wealth has an origin.
Absolutely.
That physical wealth, because I that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation also, is to add the spiritual component. I like to tell people that the physical wealth has its origin in spiritual wealth or spiritual abundance.
Right.
And that spiritual abundance doesn't come from having a hustler's mindset where you have to, rise and grind. I'm going to do this and that. That's not an abundance mindset. But people think because they're focusing on money, that means they're cultivating true abundance, when in reality, the more that you focus on the abundance that's inherent within you, so basically taking care of your physical vessel, making sure that you are listening to your body and what it needs. Sometimes it needs to rest, sometimes it needs to have time to create, to do things that it loves, to make time for joy. So we have the importance of rest and the importance of making time for that which you love. Okay. And that is where the emphasis really needs to be. So listening to your body is pivotal. Now, and I know I've done sessions with people before. A lot of people don't know how to do that. You'll be surprised.
Absolutely.
They don't know where to begin with tuning into their body. And sometimes I've told people that in the past. It's like, start reconnecting to your body. How do I do that? And even me, I'm like, you don't know.
Well,
but
I would say that in a space like that, grace. You know what you know, and you do what you don't know. You don't. It's non-existent. And so if I can attest to being a person who, when it came to certain things, it's like, what's that? How do you start it? It's kind of like that moment you walk into your room and you've neglected it for a while.
Yeah.
And like, all right, where do I start? How do I do this? Oh man, it's just the foundation. It's the learning that foundation, that little thing of just, all right, just pick that one thing up. That one thing becomes two. That two things becomes three. Now, by the time you turn around, your room is sparkling clean. Why? Because you got a rolling start. You just need a rolling start on it.
That's what I feel like is important, is that, we tend to be very extreme, black and white. So either we're completely into something or not at all. But the point that you're making is that you can start with small things. So, for instance, if you're not used to connecting to your body, or you're not used to connecting to yourself, start with your breath, your breathing. Pay attention to your breath coming in and out of your body. Sit for a second and be still. So now this is part of the conversation too, where we're talking about exhaustion and mental health. Give yourself permission to be still, even for 5 minutes. So you're aware of what's going on when you're not constantly moving around. And what a lot of people find is when they stay still, the mind keeps going. The mind doesn't stop. But okay, we got more people here.
Hey, shout out to my boy Kayshawn. It just rolled up in the building, man. I'm extremely happy that you came out to just have this conversation with you, man. Come on, let's go.
Yeah.
If you want to chime in, what we the disclaimer that we put out in the beginning for all those who are just joining, if you'd like to chime in on the conversation and have something to say, there's a raise your hand feature that I need you guys to use. Once you raise your hand, I will see. I'll allow you to chime in on the conversation.
Yes. So basically, yes. So if you want to chime in, just use the raise your hand function. But basically what we were saying was that it's, if you feel in points of stillness that the mind is still running, what's very important to keep in mind is that that's normal, because the mind is still going to keep going, because you have tens of thousands of things that you're thinking about, and you're thinking about the future first, so you're not fully present. But the act of just being still and paying attention to what's happening in the moment, the fact that I'm breathing, paying attention to, you could start at the top of your head and pay attention to every body part until you reach down to the tips of your toes, and pay attention to any sensations that are happening in the body. Does my stomach hurt? Or, am I, squeezing my eyebrows together? And in those moments, you kind of loosen them up just to release the tension. You can start as simply as that. You can start as simple as, what do I want to wear today? What color do I want to wear? Just as simple as that. Like, so the analogy that you used about the dirty room, just starting with picking one thing up, and by the time you reach the end of what you're doing, the room is clean. Now, of course, all these things take time and practice. They don't happen overnight. So there's patience that needs to be had for yourself in the process.
Absolutely. So there is a I forget it's funny because you come across things, and I always say that I tell my children, but it's something that I tell myself every day, that you learn from everything and everyone, everywhere. Uh, there was a there was a video I was watching a few months back. Uh, and how you give yourself a rest period in between. You give yourself a rest period in between. You give yourself a chance to say, all right, I started this task. Let me give myself 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes to just rest. I'll jump right back into it again. Rest, jump right back into it again. And what you do is you do it to the point of fail. And I'm a workout buff, so I use terminologies like that. I'm a gym rat, so I use terminologies like that. You do it to the point of fail, and then you rest. When you listen to your body and your body is saying like, oh man, I'm tired, you know, you want to rest, but you don't want to rest on, I'm just gonna not do it. You want the task done, but you want to be able to do it with a rested body. And even within that task, when you're doing it, say you're running, right? You're listening to your body. You're saying, all right, my heart rate is up. My muscles, I'm feeling everything. I'm feeling everything. If your body says stop or slow down, do exactly what your body is telling you to do. Why? Because overexerting yourself, your body is going to do naturally what it's going to do. And most likely you're going to pass out. Most likely it's going to happen in a way where you don't agree with it. You're going to wake up and be like, what happened? No one wants to be in that type of position. And I think that even in that analogy in life, we always wake up in that mindset of, how did I get here? What's going on? Why it's the same thing every single day? Or maybe you don't think about that verbatim. You don't think about that verbatim. But when you get to your job, you don't, even the train ride, the bus ride, the car ride, it's like a sickening feeling.
Yes.
It's like why am I doing this? And mentally, subconsciously, why am I doing this? Why am I getting up and why? But because you haven't realized that you're on a hamster wheel and it doesn't stop. And it doesn't stop. You haven't said to yourself, let me get off. If you inside, and I know I speak in parables sometimes, so it's but I need you to kind of follow this, where when you're watching the hamster on the wheel, they're going and they're going and they're going. They get off. They get off. And they eat. They rest. They play. They do what, you know what I mean? And they get back on again. The hamster wheel is a tool. It's an exercise tool. It's just an exercise for them to keep themselves fit, to keep themselves being able to do what they want to do, as opposed to what they feel like as opposed to them feeling like the wheel is something they have to do. So if you think about it in that context, you being on that hamster wheel right now, are you on it because it's just a means to you being able to do what you want to do? Or do you feel like you have to be on it? And if you feel like you have to be on it, there's a bigger conversation to be had.
I think that with that point, I want to expand upon that a little bit more and basically ask the question, why are you doing what you're doing? What is the intention behind all of your actions? Because in our culture, Western culture, people tend to be very external. They just want to do, and they don't even know why they're doing what they're doing. They just know, okay, I have to survive. I have to make sure that I'm making a living. And it's not to say that there's anything wrong with making a living, are you truly living, or are you just surviving? There's a difference between those two things. And you get a chance with your awareness and whatever's happening right now to live this life. And you can't get whatever time back you had before, you can't get that back. So I like to tell people to get into their hearts. And I know this is controversial because a lot of people don't see the heart as a very trustworthy organ or energy center. But
thank you.
When it is time for things to change, when you've been on that hamster wheel and through some sort of divine grace or whatever happens, you start questioning and you start feeling the sensations in your chest. You may feel your heart open or something squeeze, and you're like, what is going on, and why am I doing this? What am I meant for? That is an impulse coming from your soul and asking you to look at your place in what you're doing in this world. And it is the heart that has you start expanding your view. Are you here just to survive? No, you're here to live, and live fully and abundantly. So it's not just about going from place to place and doing whatever. And you can actually start to come into that space of heart-centeredness without giving up everything. And no one's asking you to quit your job and have absolutely nothing, but there needs to be a start from somewhere. And people need to trust that they have everything that they need within them. You know, there may be people along the way that offer you advice or wisdom. And typically when you're on a crossroads and it's time to make a change, it'll start coming in. People will start telling you things like, you know, that trigger, that response, and you may feel it like, oh, that hit me in a deep place. You know, right. The average person may not listen. And that's part of the problem with being external, is you may feel something, but then you ignore it.
Facts. But if now I will say this, give me 1 second. I'm sorry. And for anyone who may have any questions or comments or anything like that they'd like to, you could leave it in the chat, or you could raise your hand and feel free to speak. If you have something on your heart to say about this, please just know that this is a safe place. This is a very safe place. So you can speak your mind, and I mean your truest mind. Give me 1 second, okay? I'm gonna mute myself.
You put yourself on mute. I don't know if you meant to do that. I don't know if I should continue, or I'll just finish out my last point since he's on mute. But basically what I'm trying to say is I like to recommend that people move from a place of survival instinct into the wisdom of the heart, because it's through the heart that we get in touch with that personal spiritual intelligence. And it's something that we're all born with. None of us are without that internal navigation. But, you know, throughout our lives, we've been taught to ignore it. You know, it's more open and strong when we're children. But then as we grow older and we're weighed down by responsibility, we tend to just put it in the background. It's like, okay, later. But it is extremely important. Oh, you're back.
Yes, I'm back. My mother-in-law was at the door. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't, just leave her out there like this, like that,
Okay, yeah, I was just finishing my point about the importance of being in tune with your heart, or basically yourself, being in touch with your own knowing of what's right for you and what you need to do,
And I think that that's extremely important, and it's something that across the board, many people have gotten away from, and it puts us in this state of wondering who we are and what we're meant to do. And if we're not able to sit for a minute to allow our minds to tell us what it is and give us the blueprint and give us the plan, because it's there in your creation.
Yep.
It is there. It's that, again, back to the analogy of going into the dirty room and saying to myself, all right, where do I start? What do I do? I'll say that a huge example of that is, and I'm always awe-inspired by, another family member in the chat, my brother, Jahai Rhodes. He is a prime example of seeing someone say, all right, let me pick this up, get this next thing, get this next thing. And you've gone from being someone that you question to, okay, I think I like this person now. I think I like who this is and where this person, and I think I like the way this room looks now. Is there more cleaning to do? Of course, there's always going to be some sort of cleaning to do. Again, I excuse the parables, but
No, but
there's
true.
always going to be some sort of cleaning to do. But it's a whole lot better than it was the day before, and you needed to give yourself time and grace to do that. That comes within that mental rest, within that saying, all right, stop. Everyone stop. All the thoughts, chill out. I know it's a supercomputer, but stop. Let me change the trajectory. I need to rest so I can change the trajectory. Because if I don't, I'm gonna die wondering what was I supposed to do? I'm gonna die wondering what was my true purpose. You find it within that rest. You find it within you find it when your mind is able to say, let me rest for a minute, and now I can organize the thought rather than the chaos. It could be more organized chaos than just chaos. And I'm sure a lot of us, I personally go through that all the time. It's constant noise.
And what is important to keep in mind as well, with that, is don't be afraid of the stillness. And if you are afraid of the stillness, know that's also normal. The fear, because I do think that a lot of people are afraid of sitting still, because when you sit still, you are met with everything, not just what you're faced with in terms of responsibility and what you have to think about, but you're faced with everything that you haven't dealt with and allowed yourself to feel throughout the years. That may emerge in that stillness. But within those moments of stillness can also be revelation.
Absolutely.
And what needs to occur. And the thing is that if you do have some sort of clarity or realization in those moments, know that there may have to be certain things that you want to sacrifice. It may not necessarily be, like I said, everything, quit your job or whatever. And for some people, maybe it is leave that job. Maybe for some people that is what it is. But you cannot, if you do want to make a change and you're tired, your soul is weary, you have to be willing to give up something.
And I love that you say that, because what I don't want is for people to, and I've said this numerous times, I don't want people to misconstrue or misunderstand what we're trying to say here. And some people are going to, and I see it already, are going to misunderstand laziness for strategic movement. Laziness, and everyone in this room can attest to what laziness is. As a matter of fact, you know what? Put in the comment section or raise your hand and give me your idea of what you think laziness is. And I'll give you guys a minute to do that. Just your idea of just laziness. If you want to speak on it, or you want to put in the comment section, if you want to put in the comment section, I'll read it out to everyone so that we can get your thought on it. So just laziness. what your idea of that is.
So I'll chime in where that's concerned. I think laziness is equivalent to stupidity in the sense of like you have to have a certain level of intelligence in order for you to do something that's stupid, right? For the most part. So you have to have a certain level of ambition and then a lack thereof of will in order for you to be lazy. So if you say, I know that I need, let's say we're talking about going to the gym, right? If you're saying, I know that my responsibility is to do 45 reps whenever I go to the gym, right? You have the physical capability of doing these 45 reps easily. You choose not to do these 45 reps for the sake of saying, maybe I could just work it out a different way, because that, in my personal opinion, is something that I choose not to do right now. It's a personal choice, right? So laziness is more so a personal choice, more so than my body is not capable of doing 45 reps, therefore I will not do 45 reps. So I think laziness is more of a choice where you choose not to do the things that are necessary in order for you to be progressive, for the sake of possibly finding a shortcut, or for the sake of saying, you know what, it's progressive, but at this point, I don't feel like being progressive.
I love that thought process. Thank you. I love that thought process. That, trust me, you're taking me right into what I want to talk about. Right into it. So all right. I was taught laziness is refusing to do my best. I felt other people were being lazy for not working as hard as I was. Now I know they were resting or revisiting working as hard as hard, so not as to hurt themselves. Very good point. Very good point. Very good insight into what a mindset, like how you're taught can navigate what you think other people are doing, and it could be a complete misconception of what they're doing.
Yes, I feel like, this is something that I've had to deal with as well, because I myself had to start questioning how much energy I was putting out into doing things that were responsibilities, things that I felt like I needed to do. But in moments where I was tired, but I was taught, not taught in terms of told, but the situations that I was in growing up taught me, it doesn't matter if you're tired or sick, do it anyway. So in those moments, we all have an inner voice. And I've talked about this before. We all have an inner voice, or basically our soul's wisdom or our intuition. And that voice speaks. But you also have these other voices that come from your mom, your dad, the people that you grew up around. And all those voices are meshed up together. And you don't know how to distinguish between them sometimes. But basically, any voice that tells you to do something that could potentially be destructive towards your physical body or your well-being, that voice is not yours. So I basically had to, when I felt that urgency come up, I'm like, okay, I hear you. All right, shut up. I'm gonna lay down. It's maybe then it was more productive for me to listen to that voice, because I had to keep the peace. And when you're someone who's the giver and you have people around you pressuring you, and you're a child and you don't know any other way out of it, you give into it. What else are you going to do? Let's get smacked. You do what you have to do in those situations to keep the peace and to keep yourself safe. But then when you're out on your own in the world and you hear those voices come up and those feelings, you can just be like, I don't need that anymore. It's not serving me. And if anything, it was, I can't really say it was completely beneficial to me then, but it really isn't beneficial to me now.
Right. So in the chat, Keyshawn Williams, he has said laziness is an immeasurable choice. And he is absolutely right. I think so. He's absolutely right. Now, I asked the question of what people think laziness is. And I asked that to say this, that we all here, at least, can differentiate when your body is just saying, I can't take anymore, listening to your body, then I can absolutely get up and do this. Choose not to. And for how long you choose not to determines how much harder you're going to have to work when your body now tells you, hey, you got to get up and do this. Mentally, I think I'm learning compartmentalizing, things like that, where this issue lies is where this issue lies. Where this issue lies is where this issue lies, and so on and so forth. And saying to myself, all right, well, I know this is an issue. Let me get to this after I prioritize the larger part of this issue. Mm-hmm. And then after I'm done tackling this particular issue, rest, give my mind time to strategically go into something that you have as more so of a lesser priority. And in that rest, there's a creation of how to deal with it to go forward. And I think what happens is in this society, that this fast-paced society, this society that is now become more so dependent on technology, things of that nature. We won't go into that, but because it's so fast-paced, we're trying to deal with 50 problems at one time. Mm-hmm. You're trying to deal with 1,000 problems in one time. And you're not getting, and mind you, this is where you get on the hamster wheel now. If it's your bills, if it's your rent, if it's your mortgage, if it's your children's tuition, if it's whatever it might be, we're dealing with 50 problems at one time. And now we're trying to stay on the hamster wheel to deal with all of it. And we're not saying to ourselves, wow, well, what can I do to prioritize some of these issues and still be me and still deal with it in a way where I'm comfortable? What I'm doing, I like. You know what I mean? I like doing this. And it takes care of the different things that I need to do. Mm-hmm. You need to be able to rest and really think about you and what you love and how you love doing it, how much you love doing it, and how to strategically make it something that you do to take care of all of that. That's coming off of the hamster wheel so that you can eat. That's coming off of the hamster wheel so that you can rest. That's coming off of the hamster wheel so you can play. Mm-hmm. That thing that you love to do it. Do it. And do it unapologetically. Why? Because you love to do it. And that's what you've been placed here to do. Now, I could say that I'm a man of music. I'm a singer. My family can attest to this. And I've done shows. I've done recordings. I've done many things. Every single time I'm in that space, no matter what capacity I'm in that space, I feel at home. I feel rested. I feel elated in it. I feel all of the positive feelings that I need to feel, the dopamines, all of it, when I'm in that space. Now, am I on a hamster wheel? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I have my day-to-day is it's the same. Same thing, day in, day out. Now, there might be different situations within every day, but it's my day-to-day is the same thing, day in and day out. The minute I can get off of that hamster wheel and say, all right, I'm going to the recording studio, or even if I'm going to the recording studio and I don't record anything, I'm going in there to go write. I'm going in there to go chop it up about music. I'm going in there to go be in my element, to be where God has said, or the Most High has said, I gave you this gift for a reason. Use it. Me disrespecting that and remaining on the hamster wheel and saying, well, yeah, I know you gave me this gift, but I got bills to pay. I got rent to pay. I got children to take care of. I got a wife. I got I got to do all of that. And it's disrespectful to the Most High that is giving you whatever gift He is giving you for you to not say, all right, well, how do I utilize it? Let me clean this room. Let me clean this room.
What I want to say to add to that is we all have responsibilities and things that we need to do. Depending on each person's situation, it's going to be different. But one thing that people need to consider is, are you properly asking for help? And are you properly delegating your tasks and responsibilities?
Absolutely.
Because sometimes we have sometimes it's just automatic. We take on everything. But also know that it is possible to open up your energy and ask people for help and to properly delegate. Because we need to be able to balance giving and receiving, so that not only are we taking care of the baseline responsibilities, we are also able to make time and room for what it is that we love. And going into that, basically what you were saying before about what it is that what you love and what you've been put here for, in order for you to be able to tune into your gifts, the rest is necessary. So you need to be able to have that stillness and be like, what do I like? What do I enjoy? If you're always doing, you never really make time for yourself. How will you know what lights you up and what brings you joy? And don't be afraid to explore that. Don't be afraid to explore things that bring you joy. It's almost like people feel like they don't deserve to do what they enjoy. You should only do what you have to do. Only focus on what you have to do and things that are monotonous. But joy and love and abundance, all that stuff for me is the same energy. They're actually not different, because when you trace it all back to the divine, it encompasses all of that energy, and all of that is within you. That's everything that you are. Only thing that's tricky, you are all of those things, but if you don't have an awareness of it and you're not actively working towards it, it doesn't really express itself in its totality. So you have to start bringing your awareness back into that space, that everything that you are searching for on its most fundamental level, because even with all of these things that we want to accomplish, they're all, they have a fundamental basis of either love, abundance, creativity, whatever. All of that stuff that you're searching for is within. It's already there. So want to know what your gifts are? What do you love to do? What is in your heart? And that's so important. Even more important than, I don't want to say what you need to do isn't important, but if you're not in touch with who you really are, then what are you doing?
Absolutely. I think what you're doing right now, and people will, I'm very in tune with, I like what you're saying to me. I'm taking this in and I'm learning it for myself. And I've always said that Jim Carrey said it best. If you're not doing what you want to do, then what are you doing? And I think for everyone, he's absolutely right. If you're not doing what you want to do, what are you doing? And I think that where ignorance is bliss, people would rather to remain on the hamster wheel because they've been on it for so long. It's comfortable. Mm-hmm. They say one of the many things that, even in processing trauma, processing grief, grieving, things like that, people are running from it because of how difficult it is to do. It's one of the most difficult things to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I think where we are in this life, it's like, all right, well, it's comfortable for me to be doing XYZ all the time because you're running from your own creativity.
I was going to ask that too. That was one of my points is, what is the true reason behind you being busy? I'm not saying there aren't baseline things that need to be taken care of, but ask yourself, is everything that you're doing a part of the baseline stuff that needs to get done, or are you trying to keep yourself busy? Is there
Absolutely.
something that you're avoiding? Is there something that you're running from?
And do you know what your creativity is, but
Right.
you're afraid of it?
Mm-hmm.
Are you afraid of what you may be able to accomplish? Are you afraid that you know what it is, but you may fail at it and you want to protect it?
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to going out and doing it. Maybe you have rested and you found out what it is that you were supposed to do. And you're saying to yourself, well, how do I do that? Then you get into the comfortable place of, all right, well, let me just go to work, pay these bills, get on this everyday thing because it's systematic. It's what you know. It's it's that this is how I know how to breathe. And I don't know how to breathe any other way than this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But understand that there's something that when you start to question who you are and what am I supposed to do, those questions are leading you to how you should breathe differently to sustain your life,
And
to help you be longer.
and when it comes to, when people say, because it's a common question, well, how do I do that? When it comes to what I love and what I enjoy, how do I do that? From what I've been able to observe and from what I have experienced in my life, when there's something that is in your heart, because I feel like whatever's in your heart is meant for you, whatever's truly in your heart is meant for you. Don't feel like you need to iron out those details. You don't have to, because I feel like whatever is in your heart already has a path that's there for you. You just need to be willing to get on that path. And it doesn't mean that you
Absolutely.
have to know every single step, but you need to be willing to say, okay, I submit to that path. I submit to the path of my heart. And step by step, you will be given those steps. They'll come in their own time, because anything that's in the path of your heart, it's already there. It's already there for you. The divine is like, yes, finally, they submitted to the path of their heart. Here is the way. All you have to be willing to do is risk it.
And I think even in risking it is really just living. It's really just being. It's coming into your true self. It's coming into who you're meant to be. And when and again, it's a systematic thing. I don't know where we got off the course of being our true selves. Um, it's always been there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that from young, what you've been taught, and it's not for everyone, because some kids are lucky to have the parents that are just like, oh, listen, you gotta open the parachute, you gotta just jump. You gotta just jump. And your parachute's gonna open at some time. Now I'm quoting Steve Harvey, but your parachute is gonna just, but you gotta jump.
Mm-hmm.
Some parents are gonna tell you, no, don't jump.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Don't jump. But listen, this is the safest. I have to protect you. And then protecting you from the world sometimes is lying to you. Sometimes it's giving you information that does not serve you. And in that, it's your become a doctor, become a lawyer, make a whole bunch of money, drive a nice car, and have a nice house, and you're good to go. Is that truly what you want to do? Because they don't even know what you truly want to do. I have children, and I will tell you this right now. I have zero idea where their path is going to take them. What I will encourage them to do is whatever they feel, whatever they feel the divine has told them that they need to do it. I have zero control over that. There's nothing. You are mine, but you're not mine. You come from me, but you're not mine. And in that type of understanding, yes, is there fear in me about that? Absolutely. But it would be disrespectful of me to tell them that they need to take a path that is not their own. Simply because I feel as though I'm protecting them. They'll grow to resent me for that.
Mm-hmm.
Selfishly, I don't want that. So I have to let go. I have to say, hey, listen, if that's what it is, that's what it is. So long as you're not hurting yourself and hurting others or being destructive. And even in that, there's a deeper conversation to be had about that too. But even in that, it's like, you do it. That's what you were put here to do. I have zero idea. I know what I was put here to do, but I can't speak for any other person. They have to find that within themselves, and finding that within yourself is resting.
Mm-hmm.
Allowing your mind to tell you what it is that you need to do, and really digging deep and saying like, and questioning, constantly saying why, digging deeper, why.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to offer, I'm going to offer what we had discussed previously, that in the digging deeper part, it's not necessarily making logical sense of what you want to do, because whatever guidance you receive from your heart or whatever it is that you want to do may not necessarily make sense. It's not going to make logical sense.
Right.
So with the digging deeper part, it's basically what we were talking about before, of getting more in touch with yourself and how you feel, and what your body is telling you, what you're sensing from within. That takes personal connection, and you have to allow yourself time for contemplation and introspection, which is not the same as trying to think and put pieces together. In some spaces that works, but when it comes to getting in touch with the heart space, that doesn't work. Okay. And when we're speaking about the mind, we're not necessarily just talking about the brain mind, but the mind as being a layer of awareness that moves through every aspect of your being, that allows you to be able to kind of receive all aspects of your experience. So it's basically just being able to, I was telling Daniel earlier, that being able to just sit in bed and just kind of reflect. You don't have to necessarily sit in bed and reflect, but you can just look out the window, you can listen to music. We come from a very creative family. So Daniel and I are both very creative in our own ways. We both really have a strong connection to music. So for us, being able to just sit and listen to music allows us to be in that space of, I don't know, sometimes I call it the kind of like inner cosmic space. So where you're not necessarily manipulating your energy, you're not forcing yourself into anything, forcing yourself into any kind of conclusion. You're allowing yourself to be, and whatever emerges or comes up, it may come up as a thought. You watch it, you observe it, but then, you don't necessarily attach yourself to it, but you let it kind of do its thing. Okay, actually, now I'm very curious about this question. I'm curious, can you clarify what you mean by sacrifice? Where's the chat? In following heart, can one consider sacrifice? In what sense? I want us to clarify it, because I know the heart can be a little bit, when people hear the word heart, they're like, uh-oh.
Okay, so, if you can, if you could clarify, just give a better clarification within the chat that you made there. If you could come off of mute for a minute, just to give clarification.
Yes, good evening. How y'all doing? I was just as far as the heart, as far as we I consider as far as gifts and talents and all the things that is not considerably relevant at the moment, and you start to take another path, and measuring sacrifices and those things that are not that can get in the way of your gifts and talents. Where does those line up at as far as when blocking your gifts and talents?
Okay. I get what you're saying. So when it comes to things that can, because at some point everybody realizes when they move into that space of heart-centeredness that there are things that appear to be blocking your path or things that seem to be an obstacle. But when you make the decision to follow that path, your trajectory starts to shift. So basically anything that serves as a blockage is going to start to fall away. This is why I was kind of saying before that you have to be willing to give up something. So there are certain things that may remain with you. It could be certain relationships or where you live or whatever, but there may be certain friendships, or there may be other situations, your job situation, your job may be a blockage, a certain kind of relationship may be a blockage. And you don't even necessarily have to think of it as a blockage. Basically, just something that is not a match for who you're becoming. So whatever is not a match is going to slowly start to fall away. That is part of the process. And I don't think that these things are anything to necessarily worry about. It's more so placing your attention and focus on following that which you're being called to do. And then everything else will start to kind of circumambulate around that. Things are going to start to change. Why? Because your attention has changed. Your choices have changed. So because of that, everything else around you is going to change. And you may also start to get the guidance where, so let's say if your job is one of the things that's blocking you or is not a match, you may actually either get the guidance to leave. So you may feel within yourself like, okay, my time is running out, I got to go. Or something may come together in such a way where you're either fired or you have to leave. Sometimes part of the path is part of the lesson you have to learn, is that you to make the choice for yourself to leave. And if you choose to ignore it, you create drama. So, and that's how the universe works, where if you get the guidance to do something and you don't listen, you actually make things worse and you start to create all this unnecessary stuff. So basically, it's more so about focusing on the path and being willing to do what's necessary or embrace the flow of what is happening and try your best not to resist it. And it's hard. It's terrifying. It's scary. And I'm just saying.
Kay, these are, I'm going to give you, man, these are the conversations that we have. And these are the conversations where I'm listening, where I sit and I listen. And I hear my sis tell me things like this, and I'm like, whoa. Okay. All I can do is just intake it. And now I'm given ammunition now to just guide myself. It's like, all right, now you see what's really going on here. Now you see from a more spiritual standpoint what's going on here. And you've always felt it. You've always felt it, but now it's being put into words. Now someone has said to you, listen, this is what's going on. All right. And you already feel it, but you just couldn't put it into words. This is what's going on. Hence why I love having these conversations with her, because I never know what's going on. It's like, and I feel it, but I never know what's going on. And then I talk to her and it's like, okay, now it makes sense. Now it's the words that have been given are put into the air. Now it's like, oh, okay. Now I got ammunition. I know exactly what's going on. I know exactly what to pay attention to. I know exactly how to move, how to step, and to sometimes just jump. just to jump. Like, all right, you know what's going on, just jump. Right? You know that you're gonna have to take some bumps, you're gonna have to take some bruises. It's gonna be uncomfortable for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
For a moment, it's gonna be uncomfortable. But jump, do it. Do what you are meant to do.
Can I just add to that and say that your heart path is meant to bring you in, how can I say this? It's meant to bring you closer to yourself. And even though, okay, so a lot of this conversation has been about follow that which you love and that which brings you joy, but that doesn't mean you're going to be happy all the time. This is the distinction that needs to be made, especially with when things start to turn and your focus starts to change. There's going to be a lot of things that you don't like that start to happen,
right?
Because it's going to be scary, and it's going to be things that maybe you got comfortable and now you got to change it all of a sudden, because once you get that guidance and you feel it and it's time, you can't go back, or else again you're going to cause problems for yourself. It's not always going to be pretty, and sometimes I'll say this, it's going to downright suck and you're not going to fully enjoy it. But it's mainly because it's unfamiliar, and it's because you've been living one way for a long time, and now you got to do something completely different. But if you are truly called towards something, you will always feel a sense of contentment with making the choice to stick with it, because it's in your heart and it's what you're meant for. Even if it doesn't feel emotionally good.
And it will be unconscious. It would be one of those things where because you're chasing it, or because now you've realized that this is what you are meant to do, and you begin to chase it. It's basically, you will treat it like you get up every day. You know you got to get up every day for work, or you know that by this time you got to be here and you got to get this particular thing done. You will treat it like that. Why? Because it's that important. I think where we begin to falter is we prioritize other people's dreams, and we prioritize other people's paths and other people's journeys. And it's like, we're on that journey with them, but we're on that journey with them. We haven't set our own path. And the minute you begin to set your own path, you will treat it as though you will treat it and respect it as though you're on theirs. And it will be unconscious. You will just do it. Because it's that important. And if it's that important to you, and you have to realize that there's a seriousness in knowing that. There's a very deep seriousness in knowing that. If it is that important to you, you will do it. And it will be unconscious. And it will be uncomfortable for yourself, and it will be uncomfortable for other people. People will have misconceptions of you. You'll start to hear, oh, you changed. You ain't got time for nobody no more. And it's like, well, listen, if you're my friend, you will understand that because I'm taking this path. Nah, I don't. And you're tested. Were you my friend or not? If you truly believe in me, and I mean the truest form of really believing in me, are you okay with not seeing me for months? Are you okay with not hearing from me for a year? Because you know that I'm on my path, and I'm doing what I need to do. And if that's tested and they fail, hey, they fail. Your path is your own. And it will not fit, and it could be your best friend, the closest person to you. Sadly enough, it will suck to find out that person wanted you to be on their journey and not on your own.
It's interesting how that happens too.
Part of what she's saying.
It's interesting how that happens too, because I know people that they basically put so much energy into helping other people accomplish their dreams and goals, but then they look back on themselves and see that they haven't gone anywhere. And then it's like, well, who's going to do that for me? And this is the thing that's kind of annoying sometimes about the way things work, It's like, well, no one's going to do that for you until you realize what you're capable of and do that for yourself.
Absolutely.
You have to
And there's
realize,
courage in that.
yes, realize who you are, what you're capable of, and all that energy that you're putting into others, put it back into yourself. Love yourself, honor who you are, and understand what you are able to, whether contribute to the world, what you're able to express as all of which you are, and basically encourage yourself.
Absolutely. So as we get down to the last 10-minute stretch of this live call, brother and sister chat, are there any questions, any concerns, anything that you guys would like to say, encourage, whatever it is on your heart that you want to say? I want this space to be very interactive. Yes, we do have a lot to say. We have a lot on our hearts that we want to share with you guys. A lot of thought-provoking topics are coming. They're coming. Trust me, this is going to be a space that is not going to be a one-time thing. But I want it to be interactive. I want you guys to chime in. If whatever is on your heart that you got to say it. If there's questions that you need, that you have, ask them. You can put them in the chat. You can state them here. But I don't want it to be where we just talk and you just hear our conversation and you just know. If you want to chime in, please feel free. So I'll just give that time right now to, if there's any questions, comments, concerns, or anything like that, please give your insight.
Okay, we got a message. That's why we started laughing. You know, because when we post this, they're just going to see us laughing.
You know what? You're absolutely right. And I got to stop going to Dunkin's every morning. I got to stop it. I stop there taking all of my money. But you're absolutely right.
Well, that is another topic.
Oh man, you see, and it's like when you think about something like that, and you think about being able to even construct a sentence like that, that's programming. That's programming. Yes. We see this all the time, and people tend to think, and it's crazy the world we live in and how the mind works, the supercomputer, how this supercomputer works. If my day will not go good if I do not buy and drink this cup of coffee.
With caffeine and sugar and all the things that sugar, which numbs you, it actually numbs you and it cuts you off from your deeper knowing. Okay, go ahead. Oh, Shayna, yes.
Yeah, you can go ahead. You're still on mute. Hold on one second. I'll take you off. Hold on one second.
Okay, so Saida, do you remember you were asking me to sit with, caffeine and like, why do people drink so much caffeine? And I thought about it because I never really got addicted to caffeine until I started my first full-time job. Mm-hmm. And it's probably one of the same reasons why I have such a hard time with sugar, etc. And Dunkin' is such a big part of that because it's supporting the idea that you have to remain addicted to something so you can continue to work as a robot and to produce, just produce. And that addiction also supports taking you away from the heart space because you have all these chemicals going off in your brain and your body, and your heart rate goes up. And what's the chemical that I was addicted to in my old job? It was it's just something that gives you like adrenaline. You get addicted to the adrenaline when you're working yourself to the bone and you just can't stop and you get addicted to that wheel. And we don't talk about it. Why it's so hard to get off that wheel is because our society, especially this country, designed this whole addiction for this country. We're addicted to it, and we don't even know we're addicted to it until we have these health crises. And I'm one of those people. I'm addicted to sugar and caffeine. I have permanent knee injuries. I have weight issues, addictive issues, allergy issues, and that a lot of that has to do with, you know, the working yourself to death and the addictions that are supposed to keep you going to support that worker bee mentality.
Mm-hmm.
And
Baby, why didn't we speak earlier, man? Are you still? Oh my goodness, you're so insightful, woman. What? Come on.
Thank you.
Let's go.
It's the introvert brain. It's the introvert brain. It takes time to organize the thoughts and then get it out. That's why.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
yes,
I love how you stated that, because when you think about even constructing that sentence, it's an industrial mindset.
yes,
It's an industrial mindset. We need you to be able to go to work. It's not, we need you to be able to build your own business. If you're able to build your own business, you're a threat to me. No, I need you drinking this stuff so that you can go out there and work for somebody else and not think about doing anything like that. I need you, man, wow. You opened up so much with that.
yeah, man. Like that's like another thing that we could talk about, you know, is how diet and basically what we consume, you know, contributes to the hamster wheel that people are on.
And it's so difficult to be able to stop when you're on such a drug that is meant to just keep you going. And it's like you can't stop yourself for a minute to say, but am I really meant to do this? Am I really meant to do this? Like, what am I, like, you can't question yourself because you're on constant go. And you're not enjoying your constant go. You're just surviving within your constant go.
Yes.
And that can be a very dangerous thing when you get to questioning yourself later on down the line. Because now it's like, am I really doing what I meant to do? Have you given yourself enough time to give to yourself? Or have you done so much and then at 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, whatever time you get up, all you're doing is getting up to go do it all again? Really I love that you said that. I love that you opened that up. I love that you put that in the air, because it's definitely something for me to think about. That was infectious for me. So I thank you for that.
Yeah, Daniel, that is something that we can, and we'll see if maybe we can open up another discussion about it. Because I told you recently that I actually started to become very sensitive to sugar, and I actually can't eat it anymore, or if I do eat it in very small amounts. But a lot of America lives off of sugar. Like, we eat way too much. But from what I've experienced with sugar, because I'm very sensitive, I feel everything. Anything that comes into my body, I feel, right? So as I started to become sensitive to sugar, what I would feel start to happen is, like, when you really start to open up spiritually, everything opens up, but especially the heart, the throat, the third eye, the crown, everything opens up. So what would happen when I'd start eating sugar is I'd feel all this start to shut down. And at one point, I felt numb. I didn't feel anything. I had some candy or something. It was a couple of years ago. I'm like, oh my God. It made me realize how sensitive I am. Like, I'm cut off, like, spiritually. I can't feel anything. I'm like, damn, if this is happening to me, what's happening to people that are living off of sugar every single day? Because if you're cut off from that,
this is the world. I'm an advocate of, I'm addicted to sugar now. And
It's addicting.
Where I could be, mind you, where I could be far, far more or far further in my journey if those different cutoffs weren't happening. If I was able to, like you said, the introvert mind, where you're able to quiet yourself, stillness, organize the thoughts, and boom, let that machine gun go. You know what I mean? I think, yeah, because I mean, it's so insightful. I think that for me, it would be something official. It's on. I just need to get on it. And as much as we've been talking about tonight, as far as like just doing whatever the heart space tells you to do, whatever within that stillness, that creation that comes about within that stillness, that strategic movement. And then, like you said, where it doesn't have to be a logical strategic movement, but you'll find it along the way. If it's meant for you, you'll find it while you're doing it.
Yes.
We can all benefit in such a way that is it's contributive to where we are, our families, our communities, and just to yourself. More importantly, to yourself. So we've reached that mark at 6:01, and I know you guys got dinner and all kind of stuff that you want to do. So we're gonna end the space here right now. I just, again, for everyone that has chimed in, for everyone that is in the space right now, and even anyone who is supporting the space outside of not even being on right now, a heartfelt thank you. A big heartfelt thank you to you, because this is our voice. This is our means to get our voice out into our respective communities and into the world. And we want it to be a very responsible thing. We do definitely want to challenge a lot of what's been going on, and that's what this space is going to be about. But it's also about love. It's about responsibility. It's about respect. It's about respecting yourself. It's about respecting others. It's about...
There you go. I thought that was perfect. Absolutely. You are that.
And just know that to give yourself grace and to love yourself and to be unapologetically you is why you are here. If you're questioning why you are here, your purpose is there. Tap into it. But just know that you are here for a reason, and only you know that reason. Only you know that reason. Don't be afraid to be loud about it. Do not be afraid. And with that, I say thank you guys. Love you guys. And sis.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So
thank you.
We're constructing this, but you will see us again next week. Yes. All right. Have a good night.
Have a good night, everyone.
Be blessed.
Good night. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Shayna.
You're welcome.